What is the future of business coaching? Well, who better to ask than the man who coaches some of the most powerful executives in the country? Daryl W. Gurney has been the executive coach for 30 years. He's an author, a spiritual counselor, and he's the founder of both CareerGuy.com and theback40.com. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Gene.
So your theme number 4 is about hard or soft lines around coaching. What did you seek to learn in this panel discussion?
Well, it's interesting. Our theme 3, which I would advise anyone watching this, go back and look at our theme number 3. This is still a very new panel and a new discussion, but we were starting to dig in a little bit on, what is it that people are dealing with in coaching? Is it more internal issues of a person? Is it more external impact that they're having on others or branding? And what was really interesting in that last discussion, especially towards the end, it kind of came up throughout, but towards the end, it was like, there's a lot of staunch defenders, so to speak, of like what is coaching and what is not coaching. And even at the end, there were some real neat interactions about like things that are really on the outer edges of what could be considered in a coaching realm. So what I wanted to do with this theme is I really wanted to dig in with the panelists and look to see under the immediate, very clear lines of what coaching is versus what is mentoring, what is counseling, what is teaching. I wanted to see what actually happens in practice. So as to, look to see, is it that hard and fast? That was the idea behind this particular theme. Dig in a little bit more in that.
Now, Daryl, tell us about the panelists that participated in this thought leadership discussion.
The panelists are just awesome. Just a great group of individuals from such varied backgrounds. And they really do kind of go to the outer edges on this side and the outer edges on that side. An executive, professional coach incorporate. You have people on what might even look like a religious or, a staunchly hard, and rigid side of things. And again, there's nothing hard and fast even in those realms, but it's like you have groups over there. Then you have people on the other side that are more on the spiritual and incorporating kind of more esoteric things. And yet everybody is working with executives, working with leaders inside of organizations, working with individual clients with just a varied, years and years of background and experience.
Now, I know in your executive summary, Daryl, you break down the results into 4 key points, right?
Yeah. What I started seeing as I was digging under the cover here, like looking what's really happening in practice. The funny thing is that where real impactful coaching happens, not just your bread and butter, what some may call coaching. And again, people can get a certificate on the internet for $15 and call themselves a coach. But where real impactful transformational coaching is generally going to happen outside of the defined line. And so that's where the playful idea there is that sharpness and precision in coaching actually comes with a gray and crooked edge. So on the first hand, what started to evolve is that there aren't any real hard and fast definitions of coaching. Where the rubber meets the road and what's going to really impact is going to be what I call a lot of times in the outer edges. The panel kind of was coming to terms with the theory of coaching versus the practice of coaching. And inside of that, looking to see that, the coach has to use what works. And again, it may not be called coaching, but it can exist in the coaching relationship. Now, if something is outside of one's wheelhouse for both legal reasons as well as responsibility reasons, you refer that out. But there's a lot of stuff that happens inside of coaching relationships beyond coaching. Also, the idea of certifications. How important are certifications? How critical is that to the coaching relationship or someone finding a coach? And then at the end of the day, it's really the outer edges where players are taken outside their comfort zone. And the methods that are used are sometimes outside the comfort zone where the most impactful coaching occurs.
So in key point number one, you explain this fact that business coaching, it's not just black and white, right?
Right, and that's the playful idea is that it's gray and it's squiggly. So, as much as there can be staunch defenders drawing lines between coaching, counseling, mentoring, teaching, when we really dig into the reality of each unique coach and player dynamic, the lines kind of go gray and squiggly. I mean, what was interesting in theme 3 is one of our coaches is actually Brent Green is actually a former therapist. And at the beginning of theme 3, he pretty much, lined out that, therapy is not coaching. And yet towards the end of theme 3, he had a coaching experience with one of his clients that he said, I don't know where this happened. I don't know in what realm this happened. But, Don here is really saying that, it's going to happen inside the unique chemistry of that particular relationship. And every coaching player relationship is unique. And it really comes down to, as David said, it's real world versus theory. We're not in a black and white world. We do want to have them learn, support them to learn instead of teach. And at the same time, it's like what's going to produce the result in this particular situation, in this relationship.
Now, I know you said sometimes that takes you closer to the outer edges of that relationship, which I guess is your key point number 2, right?
Yeah, not so much out. It's not the outer edges of the relationship, because only within I guess you could call it the container of the relationship, can the outer edges of coaching come into play. In other words, really, when that relationship is established and there is the trust, there is the real grounding, then you can bring someone into areas. Growth is always going to happen outside the comfort zone, right? If we just keep doing things the same way, or we just keep things on the nicey nice, and I'm not saying that you get mean, but what I'm saying is it's when the player can be presented opportunities to get outside of their worldview, outside of their comfort zone on the way they're going about things. Sometimes it's those edges where the real powerful stuff happens. One of the things Patty points out here is that it's kind of an innate sense where they're going to take the client inside of that container of a relationship. And I was kind of almost thinking it like it's kind of like an art form. You look at some of the great artists throughout history, and they started in particular schools. This will lead into our next point too. But they started in particular schools of art, and you can see that they were kind of doing things the way they were being taught by, the prevailing art forms at the time. But then those outstanding artists went outside those lines, and they started creating art forms outside of that. That's, I think, what we see is that in a coaching relationship, it's being able, in that innate sense of the coach, being able to know where to take it.
Now, you alluded to certifications, and I guess, I do see that a lot with people, especially people that are reaching out. Does that matter?
Well, here's the thing. It was great. The panel, to some extent, letters are letters in the sense that at the end of the day, it's what the result is that's going to be accomplished. The absence of letters isn't going to keep a good coach from delivering great goods. Okay, because word of mouth and everywhere else, there's a lot of coaches out there that don't have a particular certification, nor will letters necessarily ensure valuable coaching from someone. But kind of where the panel started to go to on this is, there may be some value for certifications in the beginning of a coach's coaching experience, as well as in the beginning of a player's playing experience. In other words, there's certain lines to get started within. Someone who's never had a coach, it may serve them to feel that there's some, certifications there or training, to even step into coaching, unless, of course, they're referred to somebody who's an awesome coach that doesn't have certifications. But the point is, it may serve both the player and the coach for certifications in the beginning. And yet, as the art form of coaching evolves within a coach, as well as the, what's really needed for the player to expand, those things are going to happen outside of certification. Those are going to kind of come about through the involvement of the art form and the relationship with the particular player.
So I'm really intrigued by your key point number 4.
Yeah, I think Alan pointed it out very well that at the end of the day, it's the result that the players are going to be evaluating the coaching relationship on. You know, if you went to someone who hires a coach, if you went to a executive or someone who's working with a coach and you said, tell me the difference between coaching, counseling, mentoring, teaching, championing, they wouldn't know. You know, as coaches, we're over here drawing lines and things like that about what is coaching. Cody kind of said it really well here too, is he said, look, within the coaching relationship, there can be a lot of things, even beyond what we on this side as coaches consider coaching. So in other words, the whole idea of this theme was to look at, hey, is this really hard and fast or is this pretty gray? And I think what we've kind of come about to is, look, if it's in your wheelhouse, a perfect example. I went into an entertainment company one time to work with a couple, quote, problem children, great producers, but they were creating havoc. I taught these 2 producers how to meditate. Now, that's not something that typically falls within coaching, but because of my other realms that it does fall within my wheelhouse, I could teach that effectively, and they kept their jobs, and they've been a great contribution to the organization. But again, this is kind of what we're looking at here is if it falls in your wheelhouse, great, and if it doesn't, then refer it out.
Tell us about the 3 experts you had that kind of stood out that were really active and supportive of this board.
Yeah, it's just great. There's people that just jump in right away and are just really continually active throughout. Cody is just always not only putting in his thoughts, but he's really getting out there and interacting with the thoughts of others. Same with David. David is more of the concise, I'm like Cody. I can just be verbose and go on, and it's all valuable stuff. David kind of cuts to the chase on things, and yet, brings out ideas that everyone's interacting with. Same with Patrick. Patrick comes from a really unique background, and he's working with a unique, crowd of people. And so these are people that are just jumping in. It was interesting. I actually brought about this theme because in theme 3, there was a particular individual who kind of popped up towards the end and had some really great interactions. And I kind of wanted to see that person involved more in this one. Didn't happen. Hey, coaches are busy. We all got lives going on. But it's really just a great panel, and a lot of people are giving up their time to really have not only thoughts that they're putting out, but interactions going on with everyone's thoughts.
Well, Daryl, thanks a lot for walking us through this great presentation. Daryl W. Gurney. He's an executive coach, author, speaker, and founder of CareerGuide.com and TheBack40.com. So, Daryl, we will talk again.
Great, Gene. Love it.